Hello YouTube, Dave here again. When I was a kid, I used to love reading choose your own adventure books. I would get them from the library, or even the ones that I had as a kid. I would at night just kind of sit there and read them for, quite some time, and it was just fun to go through and choose what you wanted to do, like, when you reach a certain point. And those books, a lot of them were actually kind of hard. There's a lot of things that just led to some really bad choices, and I'm not gonna lie, I was that kid who would kind of leave their thumb in the page where the choices were, and if I didn't like the results of the choice I made, I would just go back and make a different one. So I always, like I said, I always thought that was just a really cool idea. And as I got older, you obviously kind of get away from that stuff because pretty much all those are geared towards children. But in 2002, Wizards of the Coast, along with, was it Rhino Entertainment? Or Rhino Home Video, put together a Choose Your Own Adventure DVD referred to as Dungeons & Dragons Scourge of Worlds, or Scourge of Worlds, a Dungeons & Dragons Adventure. So like I said, this came out in 2002 and is a fully computer animated movie. Now, the one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is that the computer animation is not the best. I mean, it's not necessarily terrible, and for 2002, it's actually not bad, but it looks like something that came from the early 2000s as a, CG product. And, that's one of those things that, it's really kind of unavoidable. It's, a relic of its time, but it's still really, really cool. There's actually some screenshots here that'll show just kind of in the inside. So like I said, I don't think the CG was necessarily that bad. That's the innkeeper there, if you're wondering, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he does have a Scottish accent. But it's just, again, the whole idea is that this is a choose-your-own-adventure story. So at certain points, you actually get to make decisions on what you're going to do. Now, I don't own a proper capture card, and I'm always worried about especially when it comes to movies and TV shows, stuff like that. I always worry about content ID matches or copyright strikes or things like that. So, and a lot of channels that do a lot of, reviews of movies or TV shows that include footage from those shows, a lot of them have to deal with these things, issues a lot. So I'm not really interested in doing that. It's just, I don't have the technology for it. So I'm just going to talk about the actual DVD, and hopefully if it seems like it's something that's of interest to you, then you might check it out. So this, like I said, is Choose Your Own Adventure. You start off, the main characters that you portray are set from the very beginning, and if you take a close look, they are some of the iconic characters from Dungeons & Dragons 3rd Edition. You've got Regdar the Fighter, Miley the Wizard, and Lita the Halfling Rogue, who is actually played very, very well. Probably one of my favorite characters in this movie is Lita, because she's kind of your typical thief. Her major motivations are to get paid. There's a point where she can steal from people in a bar, and she's just a really, really cool character. I have to say, I really started to like Lita a lot after watching this. The main premise is that Regdar has been tasked with tracking down his former mentor, a cleric of Foltest, which is a Greyhawk god by the name of Baratheon. And Baratheon is his mentor. He's the person that took Regdar under his wing and taught him to fight. So you actually kind of go into Regdar's backstory a little bit in this, which is really cool. Baratheon believes that he is tasked with a holy quest to retrieve an ancient relic of great, importance, and that this quest was given to him by an angel. And there's definitely a lot more to that. I'm not going to go into spoiler territories, but it's one of those things that you can pretty much guess from the very beginning that this angel really isn't an angel. But you go through, and as you make your way, one of the very first things that you do actually is fight an earth elemental that he summons not that he summons, but that a group of druids summon to try to stop Baratheon from continuing on his quest. So you fight the earth elemental. You do defeat it. I mean, obviously at the very first encounter the characters aren't going to die. And then you have to make your first choice. And your first choice is, are you going to take Baratheon back to Greyhawk, or are you going to allow him to continue in his journey? So it's a pretty big choice right off the bat. And it just kind of goes from there. And there's all kinds of choices that you get to make throughout the movie. The back of the box says that there's up to 200 unique combinations of things that you can do, and for the most part, I believe that. Now, when it says 200 unique combinations, it doesn't mean that you're going to have 200 completely different scenes for all the stories. That's just a bit too much to ask for. It does recycle a lot of scenes for various choice branches, but at the same time, the way that you get to that choice, or what choices you get after that, can be different. And there's several different endings to this movie. I think there's 4 or 5 endings, and I believe I actually haven't seen all of them yet. And I don't look up like spoilers on how to get to certain endings or stuff like that, because I actually want to make my choices and then see what happens. For example, there's one encounter that you can have with a group of orcs. And I've only ever had that encounter once, and that was on the last time that I saw it, because I kept hearing people say that there was supposed to be an orc fight in this movie. And it's not so much an orc fight as, just sort of a one-sided beatdown kind of thing. But I had gone through it several times and had never encountered the orcs. So that's just kind of goes to show you just how much variety there really can be. This can be a very difficult movie to get through in terms of to actually get to the credit scroll, because a lot of choices that you make can simply result in death. And there's a few of the actual endings where things do not go well for the party members. So it's interesting. It's not, you would expect that some of these would have one bad ending, and if it had 4 endings, one would be bad, one would be so-so, and the other 2 would be different levels of good. But there's actually some pretty depressing endings in this movie, believe it or not. So I just, like I said, it's just a really cool thing, and I would love to see something like this be done again today. It doesn't have to be like a fully 3D CGI movie, but it could be like a motion comic, like a web comic, or something along those lines, where you kind of just see you'd have the characters and they might move slightly, or they may move against the background, something along those lines, and then allow you to make some choices and see a story play out. I think it'd be pretty cool to do something like this with Curse of Strahd, for example, and let the player characters choose the tarot cards that Madame Eva reads to them at the beginning, and then just watch the whole story play out maybe from there. So I think there's a lot of cool things that they could do with this, and this was a really, really interesting idea for its time. It's a very novel concept, and I don't feel that it was ever really promoted well enough. It was never advertised on TV, for example. There were never any commercial spots that I ever found for it, where they were advertising that this had come out. There were ads for it in Dragon and Dungeon magazine, but beyond that, I don't think there was really any marketing put behind this, which is a shame, because this is, again, a really, really cool idea. If you were to watch this now, the few things that I would ask you to sort of keep in mind when you go through to do this is, number one, yeah, the CG is from 2002, and it's obvious that it's CG. It's not high quality realistic stuff. It was passable for the time, and considering that this is probably not the highest budget production, I think they actually did a really, really good job. I mean, they represent some of the creatures in D&D really well. Some of the other creatures that you encounter are, there's a Displacer Beast that you can find at one point, and there's even a Beholder, which is all that I need in order to really enjoy this. So again, just keep in mind that, the CG is from 16 years ago. The other thing that I think is kind of important to know is you don't want to sit down and try to get all the endings back to back, because when you do that, it really starts to show the seams kind of the adventure itself, of the options that you have. Because if you sit down and repeatedly go through, even if you're making different choices, you're going to start to see some of the same scenes, because you're going to end up getting there from different paths. And that's just one of those things that I think if you do this, if you want to pick this up and watch it, I would say go through it once as soon as you get it, and maybe give it a week or so, and then go back and watch it a second time and make some different choices, or just spread it out over the course of a period of time don't sit down and try to marathon through all the different decisions. I mean, we had done that with a friend of mine when I first got this, and it was one of those things that I kind of almost regretted a little bit, because you start to see some of the same scenes repeated in various arcs, which is fine, but you've seen the scenes enough times in that one day that you wish you could just kind of skip through them. So anyway, this was again a really cool thing. Now there were some demo discs that were released with Dragon magazine. I can't remember what the issue was. I want to say it was the Incursion issue of Dragon, which I think was 310. Dealing with the Githyanki and stuff like that, but then again the timing doesn't quite line up, because that was in 2003 when 3.5 had come out. So I'm not entirely sure. Well, actually 2002 is I think when they developed it, so I think it was released actually in 2003, so that may have been the issue. Anyway, the demo disc gets you a through a certain amount of the story, but you're not going to get like a complete run through. But that is out there, and I can't imagine this being all that difficult to track down on like eBay or Amazon or stuff like that. I mean, I don't think that this is one of those like holy grail items that people are constantly after, but it is a really cool thing. And again, if you like those old choose your own adventures as a kid, then this is definitely a good step up from that. And hey, maybe if enough interest in this gets sparked again, Wizards of the Coast might revisit it again, not as a fully animated DVD or anything, but perhaps as, like I said, some motion comics, which I think would actually be really cool. And I'd love to see something like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have a copy of this, let me know about it in the comments below. Let me know what some of your favorite moments are, some of your favorite choices that you've made. And if anyone who wasn't aware of this before, if you pick it up, let me know that as well, because again, I think that this is a really awesome idea, and I'd love to see more of it. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.